Hello everyone. So by now, most of you might have watched the season finale of Succession, which was absolutely fantastic, by the way. I can't remember being this satisfied by a show's ending in a very long time, probably even since Breaking Bad. Usually the shows when they end, and even the good shows, they end on a high note, but it's rare to see that a show peaks at its ending. Many people say that Breaking Bad was best in season 4. I'll still say that Breaking Bad is probably the greatest show ever made, and I do think that the ending is very strong in Breaking Bad. But if you'd ask me if the peak of Breaking Bad was it the ending, I would say it is probably arguable. But if I ask you what is peak Succession, I think many people would say that the ending of Succession is actually the peak Succession. Each season got better than the previous one. Not to say that the first season was bad or in any way, it was still great, but I just like fell in love with the characters even more as the show progressed, and I think the writers get a lot of credit for that. Right now, there's a writer's strike going on in Hollywood, and I think it's very important to recognize the importance of writers in television shows and movies as well. Like they are underpaid, they are not paid as much as the director, or they are not even recognized as much as the director. Even in Oscars, the best director gets all the credit. We hardly think about who won best adapted screenplay or who won best original screenplay. So I think this show is all about the writers, and I think that is the reason this show will probably become a modern classic. And I think the showrunners picked a perfect time to end the show. There are only 39 episodes across all the 4 seasons of Succession, and I think that they decided to end the show at the perfect moment. They ended it at a point where we were satisfied with the ending, but we also wanted a bit more, and that is the point where I think the show should end. The show should not prolong its existence, and I think that Succession is one of those shows that just ended in a perfect way. I can't fault even one thing in this finale. So without further ado, just let's just start analyzing it frame by frame. So the episode opens with Kendall going into the office, and basically he has his guys telling him whether he has enough members on the board to back him up, enough members in the board to say not to sell to Gojo, and he wants to retain Waystar obviously. So basically he's just doing the numbers whether he has enough of them. Roman is obviously missing from last episode. He had a violent fight, or rather got into a fight when some protests were going on, and basically he feels responsible that even after electing Mencken as president, he was not able to secure Mencken's trust. And basically, like Mattson has a free way to basically acquire Waystar. No one can stop him. I think he has all the numbers. Shiv is also with him right now. So Kendall is in a situation where he really is desperate for votes. He wants the majority vote at the board meeting. So basically, he just wants the numbers, and he thinks he has the numbers. But again, a lot of people are in the gray area. Kendall feels that he can still get Stewie, but again, even Stewie isn't sure whether to side with Kendall or go with Kojo's deal. Even he isn't sure about who to give the vote to. And obviously, as I mentioned, Roman is missing. So Kendall is pretty cornered, I would say. He's a bit desperate. He wants to basically secure more votes. So basically, he learns that Stewie is not sure about who to vote. But I think Kendall is still confident that Stewie will vote for him. And meanwhile, Kendall just goes after Roman. He learns that Roman is in his mom's home right now, and basically he decides to go to Roman and basically talk it out and basically secure his vote, which is the most important thing for Kendall. I don't think he thinks a lot about what Roman feels inside. He just wants to get his vote, and that is basically summing up Kendall's character. He is a very good character. He has his heart in the right place, but there are many times in the show where he discounts other people's feelings, whether it's his wife or his kids. His intentions are pure, but the way he goes about things are just wrong, and he needs to prioritize some things. I feel he's too laser focused on becoming the CEO that he's not able to see anything else. And I don't think if it's Kendall's fault or if it's Logan's fault in how he raised him. So multiple factors in play. So as I said, basically Kendall is struggling to get votes on his side, and he's basically trying to make the most of the one day he has before the board meeting. So we basically then get the intro, and I just love the intro. I'm going to miss this intro so much. So, and then we cut to Shiv. She is discussing with Mattson on whether they have the numbers or not. Pretty similar situation, but here obviously the camp is pretty confident that they are going to pull off the deal, and they are going to acquire basically Waystar. So Mattson is just talking to Shiv, and they have some slight disagreements on stuff and all. And basically, Shiv calls her mom, and her mom also informs her that Roman is with her basically. So I already knew where this was heading, that they were going to meet at their mom's place and probably going to talk it out. So the episode is set up beautifully on how it goes, and everything is just up in the air. Where will Shiv go? Will Shiv become the US CEO finally? So everything is just perfectly set up in this episode. Then we have a small one-to-one between Tom and Shiv, where basically Shiv basically, even though at this particular situation she is going to be US CEO, she wants to patch things up with Tom. And Tom is a bit indifferent right now. He's emotionally detached. He feels that he has been betrayed too often. And maybe he has been actually. If you see from season one to till season four, Tom has been very submissive. He has always been the submissive partner among the two. Basically, whatever Shiv says, he basically agrees to it. He has his disagreements, but Shiv has proposed some very inappropriate or wild things that usually don't go in a relationship, and Tom was still okay with him. And Tom was still okay with it. So that just shows maybe Tom's love for Shiv, as dysfunctional as it may be, and she basically just wants to patch things up after their brutal exchange. I think a couple of episodes or so ago. So Shiv just wants to know where Tom is at right now, and she basically I think wants to patch up with Tom and basically get back together again. And she's pregnant as well, so I think she wants her child to have both their parents with them. So yep, that is where it's at with Tom and Shiv right now in this episode. It's very interesting to see how they finally end up and what happens in the end. It's pretty, I would say, a bit surprising. But yeah, let's go step by step. So yeah, they both have their exchange, and Kendall also comes to know that Roman is with their mom, and basically Shiv arrives, and then Kendall also arrives, and basically they both talk to Roman, and basically yeah, Kendall just wants to get the vote from Roman. He doesn't care much about where his mental state is at. Kendall just wants to secure the vote, and considering that it's just one day before the deal, and it's probably the most important day in probably Vista's the company's lifetime, and yeah, the company's selling, so Kendall is pretty focused on that, whereas Shiv is more focused on where Roman is at. And it's easier for Shiv to be focused on where Roman is at because she has the number, she is winning, she knows it, she's pretty confident. Kendall is the one who is chasing here, so obviously he's pressing Roman more than he should, given Roman's current state. But yeah, and then yeah, they just talk it out. Kendall tries to tell Shiv how Mattson might basically fuck her up. She's just giving her hints right now, nothing is confirmed, and yeah, basically he just wants Shift to have doubts over whether they have the numbers or not. So yeah, that is the conversation. And then this was a very interesting conversation between Matson and Tom. I never expected this to actually happen. I always thought there was some tension between Matson and Tom, but like Mattson recognizing Tom and thinking that he could be US CEO. I never thought that would happen. This was one of the most surprising things about this episode, but it does make sense. Succession has always leaned towards the misogynist side of things. It displays how characters are a bit misogynistic and they don't let women gain power in any way. This was apparent with Logan as well. I personally think that Shiv is the most capable among the three siblings. She's the most balanced. She's the one to take over, but Logan never recognized that. He was pretty rigid on not handing it over to Shiv and always handing it over to Kendall. But yeah, basically he just realized that all his kids were bullshit, which also comes around later in the episode. But yeah, Mattson and Tom have this conversation, and Mattson basically offers Tom that he is going to be US CEO, and Tom just feared at the start that he was going to be fired, but later he recognized that Mattson is actually going to elect him US CEO, and just cannot believe his luck. And then basically the issue comes when Greg gets to know about this, and basically what Greg does next is he basically does betray Tom and tells Kendall about the fact that Shiv is getting fucked and Tom is the one to take over. We'll get that to that later. First, there's this dinner with the kids and their moms, and yeah, now Greg tells uh, Kendall finally about the Shiv betrayal and Tom taking over. And obviously, Kendall wastes no time to get Shiv on her team. He basically tells Shiv, and Shiv also confirms and realizes that she has again been betrayed, which is very frustrating to see. How in this world of succession, it's hard for a woman to gain power. I'm not saying this is what exactly happens in real life. There is some truth to it, but I'm not going to give my political views on these things. Obviously, there is still discrimination against women in workplaces, but I don't think it's as obvious as it's shown in Succession. But obviously, it's a show, and you have to tell a story that is very interesting, that is related to the real world but not exactly real world, and I think that is why we all love Succession. It does stretch its limits in terms of its political views. I would say it's not that balanced. The people in the left are always considered to be the good ones. The people who are even slightly on the right are not considered to be good. They are often titled as evil, but there are instances where the show just tells that everyone is evil. So I think there's enough balance there that the show does not turn off people who are a bit right wing, but clearly the show basically portrays the right wing in a very negative way, and it also highlights the misogynist side of the corporate world much more than I think it actually is. I may be a bit ignorant here, but I do think that it's a bit exaggerated, but again, these things have happened in the past, and Succession has taken many stories that are from real life, so I'm sure stuff like this happens in the real world as well. But yeah, it only shows this particular aspect, not the other aspect where things are actually fair and people who deserve to get things also get regardless of their gender. but I have no flaws in this particular story. It's a story that needs to be told. It does happen in real life, even though it's a bit exaggerated. But yeah, Shiv is again betrayed, and I felt for her really badly. And Kendall telling her sorry doesn't mean much. Inside, I think Kendall is actually very happy. For Kendall, it was always the most important thing to be CEO. So I'm sure inside he's beaming. And I think he does feel sorry for Shiv, but not in a way that maybe Roman does, or deep inside, uh, he is not thinking about the fact that her sister got fucked. He's more happy that he has a better chance of becoming US CEO, which will become more apparent later in the episode as well. So yeah, they just get talking, and yeah, basically Shiv also decides that because Mattson fucked her, it's time to now fuck Mattson as well. So basically the siblings team up one last time, and then they start deciding who should become CEO if they keep Vista with them. And again, this is an argument that they have had and they are having in this particular episode. They talk about how Logan promised each of them how they would become CEO, and they basically give some arguments about that. But again, after some arguments and talk. And when Kendall goes swimming, Shiv and Roman basically have this talk about making him the king. And yeah, they joke about murdering him for a while, but yeah, they basically agree on the fact that let's just make Kendall the CEO and get this over with and continue our lives in a normal way, because this succession fight is really destroying their relationship and yeah, everything around them even. And so I think Shiv and Roman did the right thing here by letting Kendall have it. But again, yeah, later we'll see a twist that I knew was coming, because I knew it could not be this happy in the end. So they basically go and tell Kendall that they are going to elect him. And the famous meal fit for a king scene happens, and they basically like tell Kendall to drink this thing, this particular mixture of stuff from their fridge. I'm sure we all have imagined a scene like this in the past. It was very relatable, where we mix everything together that's in the fridge and we ask someone to drink it. And Kendall actually does drink it, and basically this was one of the highlight moments of the whole of Succession for me. The siblings finally feel united. They feel like siblings, and yeah, till right now everything was feeling nice. I was just concerned that whether we would get all the votes, but considering that Shiv is on our team, I expected that okay, maybe we have a chance here. Maybe Kendall does become CEO, and it would also be a nice way to end the show, because in real life as well, as fucked up as these characters are, it often happens that in the end the characters don't get what they deserve. The corporate side of world is pretty ugly, and I expected Kendall to take over. I didn't expect this story to end in a way that is about being fair to everyone, because if everything was fair, then Shiv would be CEO. So Kendall becoming CEO would be a very succession type way to end. It would show the sad state of affairs that even someone who killed a kid, because he actually did kill someone, he was responsible for the death of that person, and he has made so many mistakes, Kendall, that he doesn't deserve to be CEO of a big company like Waystar. So succession could end like that, showing the brutal side of the corporate world where a person like Kendall can succeed. So at this point, I was like, okay, this could end in this way, because this ending is not a happy ending. Kendall becomes CEO is personally satisfying to me, because I like Kendall a lot. I think he's a very likable character despite being fucked up and doing shitty things. I think he's the character that most of the people are drawn to. Everyone is Team Kendall. So I would personally like it, but would it be fair and would it be like uh, fair and logical? I don't think so. I think in the end, Roman tells the truth about what each of them are. I'll come to that later. So yeah, let's just continue. So then we cut to everyone going to Connor's place or whatever Connor wants to do, and basically Connor proposes that they all affix stickers to the objects they covet, and basically the person who basically has the most stickers in that. I don't know what exactly the game was, but basically it was about affixing your stickers to a particular thing that they covet. It could be a painting, it could be anything they like. So this particular scene comes full circle in by the end. So I did like this nice touch that they set up here. Again, I wasn't able to connect this with the ending that we got. I think it's pretty obvious now, but still, when this was happening, I wasn't sure where it was going, but in the end, it made full sense. Vaughn talks about how he's going to Slovenia and how he's going to try this long distance relationship with his wife. But yeah, whether it will work or not, who knows? I personally like Connor. I wish the best for him. I think he is the purest among the four. He also does shitty things. He also fucks things up, but at least he's not that. He has his own thing. He has his own goals, even though it's pretty weird and it's very outlandish. And he probably is the most stupid among the four. But I think at least he wants his own thing. He doesn't want to get into a fight with his siblings. I think if it were to Connor alone, he would have the family together and have a good time. But yeah, Connor is always left out, and I think he deserves better siblings, to be honest. So they basically get to see an old video of Logan where he basically reciting poems and these things. It was very touching. I almost cried in this scene as well. I felt the pain coming from the siblings of the fact that they lost their father, and it was a very touching moment. And yeah, Tom basically confesses to Shiv that it's him. Till now, Shiv doesn't know who is going to become the US CEO, but she never thought it would be Tom. She basically degrades Tom when she learns that uh, that Tom is going to be US CEO. And again, this again shows to me why I was never Team Shiv when it was about Tom versus Shiv. Shiv always doesn't think much of Tom, to be honest. She thinks that he got lucky to be in that particular marriage, and she always used to degrade Tom. I don't know what you all felt, but I always had a soft spot for Tom, and I think in the end, it balanced out how the show ended. We are just going to talk about the ending of the show in just a few moments, so I'm going to save it. And basically, Tom realizes that Greg has told Shiv and everyone about her throat, and he basically punches Greg or has an outburst with Greg. And then the ending happens, the infamous ending that I think is going to be remembered for a very long time. Yeah, but before that, there's a very, very key scene between Roman and Kendall where basically Roman just thinks about the fact that he could have been the one. He could have been the one who was US CEO, who was the CEO going forward. And Kendall basically comforts him, or he comforts him in a very fatherly kind of way, something that Logan would do. He just pulls Roman and sticks him into his chest and rubs him pretty hard. I don't know why that came out wrong, but yeah. And it's an emotional moment, but it's a very different kind of emotion. Kendall obviously looks like a father figure right now in front of Roman, and I don't want to say it's a touching moment, to be honest. I would rather say it's a moment that usually a father and his son has, and it's tough love. But I think what Kendall is trying to do is trying to replicate what Logan would do, and out of Logan was. And yeah, they have this moment, and yeah, again the crucial moment comes when the counting of votes happen, and basically Kendall proposes his thing of not selling to Gojo, whereas the other motive is to sell to Gojo. So now it's going to happen, and basically everyone do their votes. Roman also votes in favor of Kendall, but when it comes to Shiv, she just runs out. And right now, I was like, I knew what was going to happen. She was never going to vote for Kendall, and my heart broke. Not just for Kendall, for the whole family of what happened next. They both go and talk to Shiv, and Shiv explains how she isn't sure, and she basically tells the truth about how Kendall won't be good at this thing. She doesn't say that she would be good at or bad at it, but she targets Kendall a lot in this particular scene, and she tells that he doesn't deserve to be US CEO, and she also not US CEO just CEO, and she also tells him that he killed a kid, which was a very, I don't know, it felt very cruel to bring that up in this particular scene. But what was even more cruel was Kendall denying the fact that anything happened. So he basically tells them that whatever he told to them was a lie. It just came out of nowhere. And I think this was the worst move that Kendall could have made. And this affirms my point that Kendall is too blind to become CEO. He doesn't see the things that are around him emotionally. He does not care about what exactly his wife is thinking, where she's coming from, the same about his kids, the same about his siblings. He is all about himself in many ways. It's not to say that he does not have a good heart. He thinks about other people, but he doesn't think in an emotional way of what other people are thinking. He's not able to understand what's going inside Shiv's head or Roman's head in an emotional way. He's not able to provide that emotional support to his siblings. And Shiv also tells him that he's incapable to become CEO even professionally. And I think all of that is pretty true, to be honest. It's true that Shiv bringing the person Kendall killed or sort of killed was a bit cruel, to be honest. That was a low blow, you could say, but how Kendall responded was even worse. I would say he basically tried to say that he did not kill a kid and he is fit to be US CEO, but he did not realize that it was damaging the situation even more, and he was not fixing things; he was just fucking things even more. And yeah, there's a big moment between Roman and Kendall where Roman takes a shot at one of the kids Kendall adopted and basically told that his wife got it from someone else. Like that was an insult that was again too low, to be honest. And I think that Ken deserved better in these final moments. How Shiv attacked Ken by bringing that kid up, and how Roman attacked Ken as well. I don't think that was fair on Kendall at all. Like Roman pointing out that we all are bullshit is fine. I understand that each of them don't deserve to become US CEOs, but I do feel that Kendall was the one who was emotionally most hurt out of this. He was the one who was targeted the most. Both of them basically, I think, were jealous of the fact that Ken was becoming CEO, and they went at him at They went at him. I didn't expect it to become this dramatic, where they went personally after each other. Like this felt like the end of the relationship between the siblings, and it was too disturbing. It was too depressing, I would say, at this point. And I knew where the show was heading. As I said, the only thing that was comforting me was that Tom was becoming CEO. I think he's one of the characters that, like, I don't know, I personally always liked Tom from season one. I think he is relatively a pretty decent guy. Like, he does stuff, but he hasn't personally done things to harm someone. He basically always has to fix things up. He always has to become the face of everything that is wrong about Waystar and what the company did. He obviously uses Greg to his advantage, but in the end, he has this scene with Greg as well, where, yeah, he basically, like, Greg betrayed him, yet he is able to forgive Greg and move on. And I think it's because of the friendship that they share. Like, in this world of Succession, no one is each other's friends, I feel, but I do feel that Tom and Greg are a team. And even though Greg did this, like, huge betrayal by telling Kendall about the fact that Tom was going to be CEO, I think Tom forgives Greg because he knows what Greg is going through. Like, I think Tom thinks about what other people feel emotionally, and I think don't think Kendall ever did. And Tom was, I always liked Tom. I like, obviously we all, I think, are team Kendall, because among the three siblings we always wanted them, and Tom is also pretty incapable in many ways. But if I had to decide among every major participant who would be the most ideal CEO, at least who is morally, like, superior to the others, I would say it's Tom. So this was the only comforting thing about the ending of Succession. The other aspects are pretty depressing. Not to say they are bad; they are masterfully done. I think the ending is absolutely perfect. Uh, in this particular universe, you can't have a good ending for everyone, but I'm at least happy that Tom had his moment of shining, and he's basically the face of Vishtar in US. So, yep, big thing. And yeah, Tom is also with Greg now, and Greg is also with Tom now. So, yep, they are a team again, and yep, I'm happy for them. So yeah, then we just have the final pieces of the show where things are patching up, and we get this amazing shot. I would say that the next three scenes of Succession, the final three scenes of Succession, might be the best three scenes of Succession, which says a lot about how powerful the ending was. So Roman is sitting at this bar. He has a quick drink, and he basically gives a small smile in the end, which basically affirms. And I think that smile means that he is basically freed from the curse of fighting to become CEO and fighting for that succession line. I feel that he feels that, okay, now it's done. Now he's at peace. Now he doesn't have to think about board numbers and all. He can have a pretty nice life. He is obviously filthy rich. He's great, and I think he is just having a moment where he realizes that he doesn't have to fight his siblings anymore. Like, maybe the damage is too much and they can't ever be together, but I think he's just having a quiet moment where he's realizing after these four seasons that it's finally over, and basically he can just have a drink and enjoy and not think about going the next day and talking about board meetings or getting people on his side and all that. And he also realizes that it was tearing his family apart, and now it's the end. Basically, he's one character who is satisfied with the ending that he got. He told that everyone is bullshit in his family and no one deserves it. And I think that the character growth that Roman had eclipsed anyone in this show. I don't know any character who grew as much as Roman, and and I think it was for the good. Like, at the start, it's unrecognizable, the Roman that we get at season one, episode one, and the Roman that we get at season four, episode 10. He has matured a lot. He has grown in so many ways. I always thought that among the three, Shiv is the most capable and balanced. But in the later episodes, Roman was better in the business, even in the business decisions and all that. And I think that he could have become US CEO. And again, all these characters are redeeming in some way. You could make arguments for Kendall, you could make arguments for Roman, you can obviously make arguments for Shiv. But if you told me in season one that there would ever be an argument for Roman becoming CEO, I would never have believed you. So again, the growth has been absolutely incredible, and the smile in the end just sums up his mindset beautifully. The next scene that we get is between Shiv and Tom, where basically Tom is now the US CEO. Shiv is going to have a baby, who's Tom's baby, and basically it's a very subtle moment where they both place their hands above each other in a very cold kind of manner, in a very dry kind of way. It just shows that Shiv wants stability right now. She wants to be with Tom for her kid, maybe for herself. She obviously thinks that things can patch up. Even at the start of the episode, I mentioned about a scene where she was talking to Tom about rebuilding the relationship. Tom was pretty against it and was not sure about it. But now that Tom has become US CEO, it's the first time that Tom is actually the one who is the dominant one and Shiv is the one who has to support her. Shiv has basically taken the role that Tom had taken before. She wants her kid to grow in a space that is comforting, that is comfortable, and I think they both are going to stick together with each other because I do feel there is some kind of love between them, as dysfunctional as it may be, but I think it's there. And obviously, Shiv isn't happy about anything right now with what happened with her siblings and how's it going with Tom as well, how Tom became US CEO, how she could have become US CEO. But I do think with time that is one thing that could mend. And then we have this powerful scene, which I think is one of the best scenes of Succession ever, where Kendall is walking towards this water body, and behind him is his bodyguard, who was also Logan's bodyguard for a very long time. And it's interesting to notice how before Logan dying, he had this talk with his bodyguard about the fact that his bodyguard was his best pal, he was his best friend, and I think that's very powerful. I really love this character of this particular bodyguard. I don't know his name, the name escapes me, but I think his character in the show was one of the most powerful characters in the end. It impacted me a lot. He was also the one who cleaned up when Ken killed that when Ken was responsible for killing that particular person. This bodyguard knows everything about Ken. He knows that Ken killed a kid. He knows about everything about the family and all. And when Logan died, I think he was also the one who was like most shocked, and he also was emotionally distraught by Logan's death. It was apparent that he was always very close with the family. Logan obviously trusted him probably more than anyone, and I think that how he came back to Kendall in the end, or how Kendall basically took him to be his bodyguard or his person to have his back. I think it was very poetic, and this ending really struck me. I don't know, the scene where Kendall is walking in front with the bodyguard just behind him. It was just very powerful and beautiful. You could never have predicted that a character like the bodyguard in Succession could be so important in the end. Where if it was just Kendall walking alone, it would still be an amazing scene. You would think about what he's going through, whether he's going to kill himself or not. But with the bodyguard there, it just adds a nice touch that maybe there is someone who has Kendall's back all the time. He's going to be with Kendall, making sure that he's all right. Maybe that's just to strawberry kind of ending. But yeah, I really like this touch that the writers put with the bodyguard right behind him as the sun sets on Succession, with Kendall having this very blank look on his face. And I was emotionally broken at this point. Like I said, I was always Team Kendall, even after knowing his shortcomings and his bullshit and everything. He was a character I was most attached to. I wanted him to become US CEO so badly, but things did not work out in the end in the worst possible way, with his siblings basically betraying him in a brutal kind of way. The points that Roman brought up about Kendall's daughter and Shiv bringing up the fact that Kendall was responsible for killing the kid. Both of them were pretty low blows, in my opinion. I think Kendall deserved better than this. I hope he doesn't kill himself. I think the fact that the bodyguard is behind him is a bit of reassuring for him. He basically would feel that someone who knew his father is also someone who is now close to him. The bodyguard obviously knows everything about Kendall. It could also be something dark. Kendall could also feel that, okay, this person knows about what I did, so I may never escape my past. But I think he will get over that fact and recognize that the bodyguard represents uh, he represents a shade of his father Logan, because the bodyguard was always with Logan and now the bodyguard will always be with Kendall. And I think there is something reassuring about that. I feel that even if Kendall goes over the rails and jump into the ocean, that the bodyguard would go and save him. And even if he doesn't jump, I think Kendall knows that in the back of his mind. And I think maybe that is enough for him to live. But yeah, the ending is very bleak. It's a coin toss whether he lives or dies. But again, I also doubt whether he would be able to do it. He would be able to commit the act of killing himself. It takes a lot of bravery to do that. But again, we have seen Kendall floating in water before, so I don't know. I don't want him to die. I know he's not never going to become CEO, but yeah, man, I just want him to have a good life. Move past the fact that he can become the CEO. Maybe find something in life, maybe reunite with his kids. But yeah, the ending really destroyed me. And yeah, the bodyguard was the only nice touch, and Tom becoming CEO was also pretty good. But yeah, each of the siblings had a pretty different kind of ending, and all of it was devastating in many ways. And I think the saddest part was the siblings. Will they be reunited ever again? I think they said stuff to each other that might destroy the relationships forever, which is a bummer considering just around 20 minutes before the end of the episode, they were having this nice moment of the famous meal for the king scene or something like that. So yep, those were my thoughts about Succession. Like this was just an informal analysis from my end. I'm sure your views might be different on how these characters ended up, but would love to know your views in the comment section. And please do like and support the channel. I will try to brush up my videos in a better way in the future. Maybe I'm still getting used to YouTube. And yep, would love to hear comments about critiques of the channel and how I can improve as well. So thanks a lot for watching. Stay tuned for my next video. Bye bye.